The deadliest stab never comes from the person standing across from you. It comes from the one smiling beside you, arm around your shoulder. Some people can deeply love the broken version of you in the mud, and secretly despise the sight of you rising into your light. Have you ever felt a sudden chill run down your spine while looking into the eyes of someone you once called your brother, your ride or die, your closest friend? Not when the two of you were fighting. Not when betrayal had already become obvious. That is not the frightening part. The frightening part is that it often happens right in one of the brightest moments of your life. You bring them incredible news. You finally bought the house you dreamed of. You just stepped into a higher position in your career. Or maybe, after years of storms, you finally found real peace, real love, real happiness. You open your heart wide, expecting joy. You expect warmth. You expect celebration. You expect the kind of reaction only a true friend would give. But what do you get instead? A strange, heavy silence. A smile frozen on their lips while their eyes go dim. A delayed blink that feels oddly calculated. A thin, empty congratulations that floats in the air and dies the moment it leaves their mouth. And in that exact second, something inside your chest drops. Your body knows. Your intuition catches it before your mind does. Something dark just passed through the room. But because you are kind, and because you have spent too much of your life doubting your own instincts, you rush to explain it away. Maybe they are just tired. Maybe I am reading too much into it. Maybe I am being too sensitive. How could someone who has stood beside me for years possibly feel something that ugly toward me? Stop right there. That is not grace. That is not maturity. That is not compassion. That is self-betrayal. That is you gaslighting your own spirit. That is you silencing your own inner alarm. That is you killing off one of the sharpest gifts life ever gave you: discernment. Intuition does not lie for entertainment. That unsettled feeling in your stomach, that tension in your chest, that strange emotional nausea you cannot explain that is not random, that is your body sounding the alarm. It is telling you, as clearly as it can, you are standing in the same room with hidden envy. And if what I just described touched something raw in you, if it woke up a suspicion you have buried for a long time, then this message is for you. Before we go deeper into one of the coldest corners of human psychology, take 1 second to subscribe to the channel right now. Your support helps this channel keep creating honest, sharp, deeply human videos like this. Videos that do not just comfort you, but wake you up. One of the saddest mistakes adults make is believing that the longer someone has known you, the more sincere they must be. We hold on to this innocent belief that anyone who shared struggle with us must automatically be happy for us when we rise. We think the person who sat beside us in our lowest days will be the first one standing and clapping when we finally win. But reality is often much crueler than that. Some of the deepest wounds do not come from people who openly hate you. They come from people who still speak the language of loyalty while quietly resenting your light. Sometimes what we call closeness is nothing more than an unspoken agreement built on shared pain. A lot of people truly enjoy your presence when you are struggling. They will cook for you when you are sick. They will answer the phone when you are crying at 2 a.m. They will sit beside you while your life is falling apart. And it feels like love. But sometimes, what they really love is the version of you that makes them feel safe. When you are stuck, they do not feel threatened. When you are broken, their ego feels taller. When you are confused, they can still believe the two of you are equal or worse, that they are slightly above you. Your pain comforts them, but the moment you rise, the entire emotional arrangement collapses. The day you shake off the mud, the day you finally stand up straight, the day your life begins to move with real power, the day your confidence starts lighting up the room, that is the day your growth becomes unbearable to anyone who secretly depended on your smallness. In their eyes, you are no longer a wounded friend they can pity. You become a mirror, a sharp one, a mirror that reflects everything they avoided confronting in themselves: their stagnation, their fear, their excuses, their wasted years, their refusal to grow. And instead of doing the hard thing rising, they do the easier thing. They try to shrink you. They suffocate your joy. They minimize your success. They use the closeness you trusted them with as a weapon. They take the secrets you handed them in love and turn them into ammunition. Then they wait for the perfect moment to fire right when your wings are beginning to open. And once that false balance is broken, you start noticing something chilling. Envy rarely roars. It whispers. It hides. It moves through small behaviors that seem harmless on the surface, but leave your soul feeling cold. That is where it gets dangerous. Hidden envy is dangerous precisely because it does not announce itself. It never walks in and says, "I resent you." It does not declare war. It does not beat its chest. It hides behind concern, behind honesty, behind humor, behind, "I'm just being real," behind, "I'm only saying this because I care." That is what makes it so hard to detect. It often shows up as compliments with poison tucked inside. You share good news, and they respond with approval, but only after slipping in a quiet little blade. You tell them you got promoted after months of sacrifice and sleepless nights. They smile and say, "That's amazing." But honestly, that kind of position usually destroys your work-life balance. "I'd rather make less money and have peace." You tell them your business is finally taking off. They shrug and say, "Well, timing is everything. A lot of people more talented than you are still struggling. You just got lucky." You talk about how happy you have been lately, how your life finally feels different. And somehow, within seconds, your joy is being reduced, reinterpreted, or stained with doubt. This is how emotional sabotage works. Not like a gunshot, like acid, slow, invisible, quiet, corrosive. It does not destroy your confidence in one moment. It eats at it over time. And the worst part is, because the words are not openly cruel, you end up questioning yourself instead of questioning them. Maybe they are right. Maybe I am getting carried away. Maybe I should not be too proud. Maybe I am making too much of this. That is exactly how they win. People like this are also masters of redirection. The moment life shines a light on you when people are celebrating you, when your moment has finally arrived, they suddenly feel an urgent need to shift the energy back to themselves. They become the victim. They bring up their pain. They create emotional drama. They remind everyone how hard life has been for them. Or worse, they casually bring up one of your most embarrassing old mistakes in front of other people and present it like a joke, a harmless joke, a funny memory, just a little callback. But it is not harmless. It is strategic, because what they are really doing is dragging your old identity back into the room. They want to remind you and everyone else that no matter how far you have come, they still remember the weaker version of you. They still have access to your old wounds. They still know where to press. They cannot stand the idea of your present outgrowing the role they assigned you in the past, so they pull you backward. Not with fists, with familiarity. If you have ever been treated like that, leave a 1-inch the comments. Because the moment you name it, you stop being controlled by it. And once you really begin paying attention, you will notice a pattern that is almost impossible to unsee. They are strangely silent when you are thriving. Silent when you post your wins. Silent when something beautiful happens in your life. Silent when your energy is high, your confidence is strong, your future is opening. But the second something goes wrong, they are right there. Suddenly they are available. Suddenly they are invested. Suddenly they are checking in. Suddenly they want details. They will call. They will comment. They will ask questions. They will lean in harder when your life is messy than when your life is blossoming. That tells you everything. Some people do not feed on your joy. They feed on your cracks. Your pain makes them feel connected. Your setbacks make them feel relevant. Your confusion gives their ego oxygen. And if you get quiet enough to really listen to yourself, you will also notice something else. After spending time with them, you feel drained. Not always, because anything dramatic happened. Sometimes the conversation looks completely normal from the outside, but your body knows better. You leave feeling heavy, fogged, irritated, small, tired in a way that sleep cannot fix. That is not nothing. That is your nervous system reacting to what your mind is still trying to deny. Your intuition has been working overtime, trying to protect you from energy that looks friendly but feels hostile. And here is the hardest truth of all. They were never truly invested in your becoming. Deep down, they preferred the older version of you, smaller, more uncertain, easier to influence, easier to manage, easier to keep within reach. Because as long as you stayed that version, they could keep feeling superior. They could keep playing the wise one, the strong one, the helper, the stable one, the one who had a place above you. But your growth ruined that story. And those velvet knives, they cut every day. Which raises a deeper question. What is happening inside someone who envies the person they claim to love? Human psychology has a brutal pattern most people never fully understand. We rarely envy someone far away. Most people do not lose sleep because a billionaire on the other side of the world is successful, but they can become deeply unsettled by the success of a friend who started where they started. That is because envy grows strongest in close comparison. When two people come from a similar background, similar struggles, similar limitations, the mind quietly builds a sense of balance, a reference point, a hidden emotional contract. We are the same. We are on the same level. We are moving through life in roughly the same way. And that illusion feels safe. But the moment one person breaks out, really breaks out, that illusion shatters. Your rise is no longer just your rise. To their subconscious, it becomes evidence. Evidence that change was possible. Evidence that more was available. Evidence that maybe they stayed stuck not because life was unfair, but because fear, passivity, laziness, or self-abandonment held them there. And that is hard to face, because hidden envy usually does not come from powerful people. It comes from fragile people. People with a weak sense of self. People whose self-worth depends on comparison. People who have not built enough substance inside themselves to stand tall without someone else standing lower. So instead of creating real value, they chase borrowed height. And the cheapest way to feel tall is to pull someone else down. That is the psychology behind it. Their resentment is not born from your wrongdoing. It is born from their own internal collapse. Your success becomes a silent accusation. Your confidence becomes a spotlight. Your discipline becomes proof. Your peace becomes offensive. Not because you attacked them, but because your life exposes what they have been avoiding. So their mind scrambles for protection. It starts rewriting your story. You were lucky. You got help. You sold out. You changed. You are fake now. You are arrogant now. You only care about money now. You are not even that talented. This is not objective analysis. This is emotional self-defense. They need to stain your success. Because if your success stays clean in their mind, then they are forced to confront a painful possibility. Maybe the reason they are still where they are has something to do with them. And they cannot bear that. So they minimize you, judge you, distort you, and talk about you in ways that make your rise look less real. By darkening your image, they temporarily soothe their own shame. But what they do not realize is that envy is a prison, a brutal one. No bars, no chains, no courtroom, just a mind trapped in constant comparison. A heart that cannot celebrate, a spirit that burns itself every night with resentment. That is why envy is never a sign of strength. It is a symptom of internal poverty. A powerful person can applaud. A secure person can admire. A whole person can witness someone else rise without collapsing inside. Only the fractured person turns another person's light into a personal offense. And when you see it from that depth, something shifts. Yes, people like this can be cruel. Yes, the damage they cause is real. Yes, what they do is deeply unfair. But underneath that ugliness is also a tragic reality. They are not free. They are stuck in cycles of inferiority, bitterness, and emotional starvation. They are living in a state of quiet humiliation that they keep trying to medicate by tearing other people down. That does not excuse their behavior, but it explains it. And understanding the root of their envy does not mean you are supposed to tolerate its poison, because blind compassion has a cost, and sometimes that cost is your own soul. One of the greatest tragedies of good-hearted people is that they keep believing their sincerity can heal what someone else is determined to protect. They think enough love will soften it. Enough patience will fix it. Enough humility will calm it down. So when they begin sensing that a close friend is envious of them, their first reaction is not anger. It is guilt. They start turning against themselves. Maybe I talked too much. Maybe I should have downplayed it. Maybe I made them feel bad. Maybe I should have been more careful with my joy. Maybe I should not shine so brightly around someone who is struggling. That is where people get it wrong, because from that point on, they begin shrinking. They stop sharing their wins. They hide their joy. They mute their excitement. They downplay their growth. They make themselves smaller so the other person can feel comfortable. They cut their own wings to protect someone else's insecurity. Let that sink in. They work for years to build something meaningful, then feel guilty for having it. They finally become confident, then apologize for the energy they carry. They finally touch peace, then feel pressured to act more broken so no one feels threatened. That is not kindness. That is emotional self-erasure. If today you are done making yourself smaller for people who resent your light, comment 1. Because the turning point in your life begins the moment you stop apologizing for becoming who you fought so hard to become. You need to wake up. Pretending to be less than you are is not humility. Hiding your light is not loyalty. Crushing your own joy to make someone else comfortable is not love. It is self-abandonment, and the damage does not stop at hurt feelings. Envious energy from someone close to you behaves like a parasite. It attaches itself to your mind. It makes you second-guess yourself. It drains your creativity. It weakens your confidence. It makes you watch your words in places that were supposed to feel safe. You start overthinking before speaking. You start filtering your joy. You start censoring your success. You start walking on emotional eggshells inside a relationship that once felt like home. That kind of wound cuts deeper than open betrayal, because it steals something more basic than trust. It steals your right to be fully yourself. Your right to celebrate. Your right to feel proud. Your right to expand. Your right to exist in your own truth without being punished for it. And when you keep holding on to a connection that has already turned toxic just because the past once felt beautiful, you are doing something dangerous. You are drinking poison from a crystal glass because you cannot let go of how beautiful the glass used to look. But a beautiful past does not protect you from a destructive present. Memories do not neutralize poison. History does not make toxicity sacred. Length of connection does not equal purity of intention. That is a lesson many people learn far too late. So, when the signs become undeniable, when manipulation replaces support, when tension replaces safety, when your spirit keeps leaving those interactions bruised, that is when you have to make a decision. Not a dramatic one, a clear one. You cut the emotional cord, not because you are cruel, but because survival sometimes requires separation. Sometimes, protecting your peace means finally admitting this truth. Not everyone who walked with you was meant to grow with you. Walking away from someone you once called a soulmate is never easy. Not if you have a heart. Not if the memories were real. Not if you once trusted them with parts of yourself you never showed the world. It hurts. It can feel like surgery without anesthesia. Like tearing off a piece of your own history. Like grieving someone who is still alive. But remember this. Cutting off what has turned rotten is sometimes the only way the rest of you gets to live. You do not need a screaming match. You do not need a dramatic exit. You do not need to prove your case in front of a crowd. You do not need to expose them. You do not need to explain every detail. The strongest response is often the quietest one. Distance, silence, boundaries, and continued growth. That is the deepest form of self-respect. Because the most elegant revenge is not destruction. It is detachment. It is leaving without begging to be understood. It is refusing to perform pain for people who enjoyed your confusion. It is continuing to rise without looking back for approval. Create distance. Physical distance, if needed. Emotional distance for sure. Stop handing them access to your inner world. Stop giving them front row seats to your future. Stop feeding a connection that has been feeding on you. Yes, that process will feel lonely. There will be nights when the silence feels enormous. Moments when your chest aches because you realize you no longer have the person you used to call. Moments when the loss feels bigger than the betrayal. That is normal. Grief is part of clarity. But hear this clearly. It is better to be alone in peace than emotionally crowded by people who only know how to love you when you are losing. It is better to stand in clean solitude than stay in polluted closeness. Let yourself grieve. Cry if you need to. Mourn the friendship you thought you had. Mourn the version of them you believed in. Mourn the future you imagined together. But do not go back. Do not return to the place where your spirit had to shrink to survive. Because losing an envious friend is not always a loss. Sometimes it is purification. Sometimes life is clearing the room. Sometimes your world is being stripped of counterfeit closeness, so real alignment can finally enter. There are people in this world who will not resent your light. People who will not flinch when you grow. People who can clap when you win. People who can celebrate your expansion without feeling erased by it. Those are your people, and you cannot make space for them if you keep clinging to relationships built on hidden hostility. Your life was not given to you so you could become a dimmed-down version of yourself just to protect somebody else's fragile ego. You were not born to live half-lit. You were not born to hide your gifts. You were not born to drag chains made of other people's insecurity. You were not born to spend your years negotiating with envy. You were born to become fully yourself. So stand up straight, lift your head, face this ending with dignity, because some separations are not punishments. They are rites of passage, moments that hurt, yes, but also moments that initiate you into a new level of truth. And when you get brave enough to release what no longer belongs in your life, you hand yourself the key to a different kind of freedom, a cleaner freedom, a quieter freedom, a freedom that does not need everyone to stay. From the bottom of my heart, I hope that if you are stuck in the glittering swamp of a toxic relationship, this message becomes a lighthouse for you. I hope it gives you the strength to make the painful decision that your future will thank you for. And if this message found you at the right time, subscribe now and stay with this channel. There are more conversations ahead, deeper ones, sharper ones, ones that help you reclaim your power, protect your peace, and build the kind of self-respect that starts from the inside. Hidden envy from someone you once called a soulmate is one of the most painful poisons a person can taste. It does not always scream. It does not always show its face. It often comes wrapped in sweetness, concern, and history. But slowly, it eats away at your confidence. It drains your energy. It pressures you to become smaller just to keep someone else comfortable. And here is the truth you need to remember. Understanding someone's pain does not mean sacrificing yourself to it. Compassion does not require self-destruction. Empathy does not require self-betrayal. And loyalty does not require you to stay inside relationships that punish you for growing. You do not owe anyone your smallness. You do not owe anyone mediocrity in exchange for false friendship. Life is movement. Life is growth. And sometimes maturity looks like grieving what once mattered and still walking away because it no longer honors who you are becoming. Do not fear the empty space that follows. That space is often sacred. It is how life clears out what is rotten, so something honest can finally enter. So, start with this. Listen to your intuition. Notice how your body feels after certain conversations. Pay attention to who goes quiet when you win and who comes alive when you fall. Stop cutting pieces off yourself to make insecure people feel safe. Be proud of what you built. Be honest about what you have overcome. Stop hiding your joy to protect people who would never do the same for you. Set boundaries. Stop oversharing your dreams with people who have already shown you they cannot hold them with clean hands. Protect your peace. Protect your energy. Protect your future. And learn to leave with dignity. No var. No performance. No begging. No speeches. Just clarity. Just distance. Just growth. Because sometimes, losing one toxic friend is exactly how you find yourself again. And if you want to keep exploring these kinds of truths with me, truths that help you become stronger, more respected, more self-aware, and more in control of your own life, subscribe to the channel right now. Thank you for staying all the way through. I will see you in the next video where we keep rebuilding from the inside, reclaiming emotional power, and learning how to protect our light without apology.